Hey y'all, today I want to talk about something more serious than my usual Flash Friday segments. What's currently going on in Colombia? So this all started with Colombian President Ivan Duque. He's already had a very controversial presidential run, including earlier accusations of being part of a drug trafficking scheme. But the controversy's been taken to a new level recently. What happened? Duque proposed a new tax to raise money for COVID-19 support, called the Sustainable Social Transformation Reform Bill. This was very infamous because it raised taxes on many essential items, such as foods like eggs, sugar, and coffee, and for placing taxes on such other essential items and services as tampons, the water bill, the electric bill, funeral services, and gasoline. But the most controversial aspect of it was the fact that it planned to tax the poorer and middle-class members of Colombia for longer than it would the rich, as the stated bill said it would stop taxing the top percentage of Colombians in 2023. This was very clearly unfair, and the Colombians wanted to let the government know. So on April 28th, they took out to the streets protesting. The government instantly responded to this with a curfew and violence from the police and other officers of the state. This resulted in 800 injuries and 11 deaths of protesters. Colombians took to social media to inform the world of this, trending the hashtag Nos están matando, which in English means they're killing us. And many celebrities, especially ones from Colombia, changed their abbeys to the Colombian flag to raise awareness of the killings. Duque noticed the negative press Colombia was getting and contradicted the government's previous statement that these taxes were vital and needed to be carried on with a new statement saying that he'd talk to Congress and find a way to redraft these taxes, but eventually they still need to be put out. Despite this withdrawal of the taxes, the Colombian people have still continued to protest in the streets, as this seems to have kind of been a catalyst for the Colombians to protest what they see as a corrupt government and a terroristic police force. While all of this is horrible, and the Colombians that lost their lives protesting deserve justice, I think this shows the best sides of social media. Its ability to connect people from all over the world basically effortlessly. Like, just more than 20 years ago, this would have taken weeks to get around the globe, if ever. But with social media, such as Twitter and Instagram, people found out basically instantly and exponentially sped up the process of these unfair taxes being repealed. So Broncos, even with this horribly dark situation, I think we can still get the takeaway that if there's something horribly unfair going on in the world, we have the power to do something about it. Have a great day, Broncos, and remember, always fight for what you believe is right.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to me telling you about something really scary and then sending you back out into the real world really paranoid. Honestly, you've probably already heard about what I'm going to be talking about today, so let's just skip all the formalities and get right into it, shall we? Today I'm going to be telling you about the debris from a Chinese rocket that are hurtling towards Earth as we speak. Now, that might sound dramatic, and maybe I use a suspenseful tone of voice and scary wording to keep you engaged, but what are you gonna do, sue me? Anyways, yeah, there are debris from a Chinese rocket falling towards Earth, and it could land anywhere between here. So, the debris are expected to enter Earth's atmosphere somewhere around May 8th. The rocket's exact entry point into Earth's atmosphere can't be pinpointed until within hours of re-entry, Howard said, but the 18th Space Control Squadron will provide daily updates on the rocket's locations through the Space Track website. Pinpointing where the debris might hit before it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere is almost impossible because of the rocket's speed. We expect it to re-enter sometime between the 8th and 10th of May. And in that 2-day period, it goes around the world 30 times. The thing is traveling at like 18,000 miles an hour. And so if you're an hour out at guessing when it comes down, you're 18,000 miles out and saying where. Yeah, that scared the crap out of me the first time I heard it too. But not to worry, the place that it will most likely crash is into the ocean, as Earth is, mostly ocean. Again, there is nothing to worry about, as our good buddies at the Space Command will be able to track it right as the debris re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. Which means if it were to land in a heavily populated area, they would be able to warn them and give instructions of what those people are to do in that situation. The risk that there will be some damage or that it would hit someone is pretty small. Not negligible, it could happen, but the risk that it will hit you is incredibly tiny. And so I would not lose 1 second of sleep over this on a personal threat basis, he said. There are much bigger things to worry about. So, there you have it, folks. Nothing to worry about. Just keep your eyes on the skies. And if you want to see the tracking of the rocket, you can go to spacetrack.org. Bye!
So as you all should know, Mother's Day is coming up on May 9th, 2021.
You've been by my side.
Proud of you, buddy.
You are enough.
My trainer.
I love you, Mom.
Love you.
So why not share some fun facts about Mother's Day? Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I never actually know when Mother's Day is coming up. It just kind of one day appears on the calendar. So if you're like me, just to let you know, Mother's Day is on the second Sunday of May. One of the earliest Mother's Day celebrations was in ancient Greece. The Greek would have spring celebrations in honor of the goddess of fertility, motherhood, and generation. During and following the Civil War, Anne Jarvis made an effort to have friendship and community to all mothers on both sides of the war. She started a committee in 1868 which established the first type of this holiday called Mother's Friendship Day. Anne's daughter Anna continued her legacy by creating an official holiday. The very first Mother's Day was celebrated in 1908. Woodrow Wilson signed Mother's Day into law in 1914. The actual word mom or mothers comes from babies. The first thing a baby can usually vocalize is the ma sound, which is why in almost every language the word for mother begins with an M or the ma sound. More calls are made on Mother's Day than any other day of the year. After Christmas and Hanukkah, Mother's Day is the third highest selling holiday to sell flowers and plants. The most popular gift for Mother's Day is a greeting card. Mother's Day is usually the busiest day of the year for restaurants. According to the National Restaurant Association, in 2018, about 87 million adults say plans to go to a restaurant for Mother's Day. 36% of Americans plan to buy their mom's jewelry. And some final facts are this year, May 9th, 2021 is also National Butterscotch Brownie Day and Hurrah for Buttons Day. And with all that being said, make sure to appreciate your mothers this weekend, and not just Sunday, but all the time.
Yes, here is the final piece on the Minecraft 1.17 Caves and Cliffs update. However, if you haven't heard, on April 14th, Mojang announced that they are going to be splitting the update into two parts and it's going to be delayed. Which I'm not surprised about. I mean, I told you it was a massive update to begin with, so it might make the game more stable. Apart from that, I wanted to make a separate video for Wardens and their biome so I can dive deeper into all that jazz. So, let's go! Introduced at Minecon 2020, Wardens are a new hostile mob that fit the role of a mini-boss. They will be found in a specific biome called the Deep Dark, found below Y0. This Deep Dark biome will be located at the depths of the New World Generation. It will also be home to skulks, and it said there might be chests of loot, and there might be a new structure called the Warden's Cabin. By far, this section of the update has the least definitive information. Now, on to Wardens. Wardens resemble the stature of an iron golem with a teal and beige color base, having the resemblance of a cage design in the middle of their abdomen. The cage design is interesting to me, because if you look closely, there's little faces in the design that almost make them look like trapped souls. It is said that Wardens will give off a heartbeat-like noise, creepy, and when nearby, light sources will flicker due to the Warden. Wardens have 42 hearts of health, but there is no released drop yet for killing them in the game, so there's no item drop yet. It was demonstrated that Wardens are going to be incredibly strong. They can kill a player wearing full netherite in 2 hits. This means the Warden can deal up to 31 hit points of damage or 15.5 hearts. Now I know what you're thinking. This is insane. It's way too overpowered. However, Wardens have a pretty small attack radius and they're also rendered blind. This means the mob can only sense players by the sound that they make or they generate, and then the surroundings. This is where skulk sensors come into play. Skulk sensors and skulk blocks are the 2 new blocks added to the Deep Dark biome. Skulk sensors are blocks that sense noises or vibrations from players. This can count from placing blocks, opening a chest, to launching a projectile. The sensors will then alert nearby Wardens of where the noise came from. Lovely. Which will lure them towards the source of the sound. Although this can be used to the player's advantage. To avoid wardens, players can use snowballs or shoot arrows to distract it. Although don't get too confident. If you attack a warden enough, it will lock onto you and it won't be distracted by any other noise. Developers have said that wardens are not more intended to be fought than they are to scare players. Thanks, Mojang! This mob will provide quite the challenge for miners, and I'm waiting to see all the people who believe that they can fight it and fail. A bit morbid, I know, but it'll be funny. Remember to watch your back, players, because there's always something hiding in the dark. Good luck!
Fairies. When you think of the word, you probably think of Tinkerbell, because that's probably the most famous fairy there is. Stories of fairies have been told throughout the entire world since as long as I can remember, at least. The term fairy is used to loosely describe a lot of different mythical creatures. I mean, obviously Tinkerbell was a fairy with wings. There's elves, there's pixies, and there's a ton of other ones that you can look up on Wikipedia because people have vivid imaginations. The myth of fairies originates to Middle Ages in Europe, not surprising since there was a lot of great authors during that time, and the origins of the stories relate to Germanic and Celtic beliefs. In the Middle Ages, the word fairy meant enchanted. They were said to be invisible and live among the humans. Many during the Middle Ages would fear that they would abduct women and children in their area. One example of this would be the changelings. The changelings is when a human baby was replaced with a sickly fairy baby, and the human baby was taken back to be used as a slave in fairyland. This was obviously a cause of fear among a lot of the middle-aged people, so stories of fairies were passed down. Nowadays, personally, when I think of fairies, I think about all the books I've read. In books nowadays, common tropes for fairies are that they can't lie and they live in a place without time and age called fairyland. In the Throne of Glass series, the fairies are said to have magical powers like wind, ice, and fire. But in books like The Cruel Prince, the fairies are said to be warriors and have powers related with the earth. In this series, the King of Fairy is able to summon the earth to move as he pleases. In each fairy story, the power systems are a little bit different, and it's common throughout all of history too. Each fairy story is not exactly the same. A common trope across fairy novels are the presence of Seelie and Unseelie. Seelie are the good fae, and Unseelie are the evil fae. The Seelies and Unseelies are used to show the trope of good versus evil in many of these novels. Some novels with this trope include the Shadowhunter novels and the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. I personally believe fairies are super cool, and I love reading about them in their stories. Of course, I am a fantasy geek, so here are some of my favorite fairy characters. Aelin Galathius, Rowan Whitethorn, Prince Carded, Mark Blackthorn from the Shadowhunters books. My favorite all time has to be Aelin though, since I'm reading the Throne of Glass series. Well, I hope I've sparked your interest to read some books about fairies.
Hello Brookwood, this is Matthew with what is going to be the final fun fact segment this year. For one last time, I hope you learned something new. Oranges were originally not orange. In the regions from which they originate, which is near the equator where it's really sunny, the orange peel is actually green due to the increased chlorophyll content. This coloring only disappears when the fruit is exposed to the cold. Green oranges actually do naturally occur here in the US, but due to the association of the color green being unripe, the green coloring is usually removed before being sold. Oh yeah, and the color orange is named after the fruit, in case you were confused and thought they had named a green fruit after the wrong color. Armadillo shells are bulletproof. Well, they aren't actually bulletproof, but they have been known on some occasions to deflect bullets. The shells are made up of bony plates called osteoderms, and are quite helpful in defending the armadillos from threats, including, apparently, bullets. Firefighters use something called a wetting agent to make water wetter. I know there has been some debate over the question of water being wet, but supposedly water can be made wetter with some special wetting agent. These reduce the surface area of the water, allowing it to spread much easier, which is probably pretty helpful for dealing with fires. Wetter water is better water. There are some planets out there where it literally rains diamonds. I'm sure you all know that there are some crazy planets out there, even in our own solar system, but chances are you didn't even know how it could possibly rain diamonds in the first place. Basically, carbon, that important element that you probably remember from chemistry classes, happens to be pretty commonly found throughout the universe, and is also the sole ingredient in pure diamond. Under certain conditions, such as in extreme heat or pressure, which are common on other planets, the carbon in the atmosphere of these planets is compressed so hard that it occasionally forms diamonds, hence the diamond rain. I would love to travel there, but the pressure that causes the diamonds to form would also most likely kill me, so that's a pass. The first person convicted of speeding was going at 8 miles per hour. In January of 1896 in the UK, Walter Arnold was driving his car, or rather his horseless carriage, as it would have been called at the time, at an incomprehensible 8 miles per hour, and in the process managed to break 4 laws, one of which being his speeding at 4 times the speed limit of 2 miles per hour. His total charge, which included 1. Using the car on a public road, 2. Allowing the car to be operated by less than 3 people, 3. Failing to display his name and address on the car, and 4. Actually speeding, total to what today would equal about $360. I guess that would be considered steep, but honestly, that's a price I'd be willing to pay to essentially become famous. Well, Brookwood, that's all I have for my final Flash Friday segment of the year. I hope you had a lot of fun, and I hope you're looking forward to the summer that's going to be coming in just a few weeks. Goodbye, everyone.